Hey guys, how are you doing? My name is Tina, and this is Plan a Little Farm Life. And I'm going to be sharing today with you our curriculum choices for the 2023-2024 school year for 10th and 12th grade. So stay tuned. So, if you don't know, we've homeschooled. This will be our 14th or 15th year of homeschooling. I have one that is graduated college, and he is actually starting a new job today. So, going to be sharing with you what we have done. Our school has evolved and changed directions, changed views, changed, the flow over the years. And this is where we are for this year. So I'm going to share my daughter. She's going into 10th grade. And I will tell you off the top, my daughter attends the local high school. She does this year, she's doing band and choir and Spanish one. Last year, she did choir and ASL, which is American Sign Language, years 1 and 2. So she's very driven. So when you see what we have in store for her, maybe this will kind of explain a few things. She's very literature based driven, and I have something on my glasses. So giving her a lot of books to read, that's what she thrives on. And I'll show you where we go from here. So I'm going to start with Bible first. This is from Master Books, and it's World Religions and Cults. And actually, both my kids will be doing this. There are 3 volumes in this set, and this is going to go over with them what the different world religions are so that you can understand. It gives them a base understanding all the religions versus our Christianity, our choice of Christianity. And there's a large map in there that shows the timelines and the connections and how all these religions kind of have stemmed off from others, and that. So it's really neat. But there is a teacher guide, and it has a schedule in the front that kind of breaks it down for them. And then there are questions, and every year is different. So this is different from last year when they did apologetics. But this is just a brief view. So this has the religion at the top, and it has them break down the view of God and man and sin and all of the questions down here. There are quizzes in this. So with them both doing the same curriculum, I have them writing it in notebooks, or I will print out sheets for them to fill in, just as a checkpoint, so to speak, because we don't necessarily grade on the right or wrong. We grade on effort and understanding. There's a lot of discussions in our family and our homeschool on different topics, and that's how some of that gets graded, because some of them are just not writers, and they just need different approaches. So I'm going to move on to math. My daughter struggled last year. We, as a family, have been through Horizons, Christian Light, Saxon, and a few other math, Rod and Staff, a few other math curriculums. And the last one we did was teaching textbooks. We moved over to teaching textbooks about 3 or 4 years ago. And we did that because my husband didn't like the way that the Saxon upper levels were laid out. So him being the main assistant or go-to for the math, it just, we work with the kids and what speaks to them, and also with the parent who is going to be helping them, and make sure that we can both convey what needs to be taught, and understood. So that was not working last year for my daughter when she moved into Algebra 1, and she struggled. We got about halfway through the book and decided that it just wasn't going to be. So we went up to a Homeschool bookstore, and I will share that. If I haven't shared that already, I will be sharing that soon. I'm going to do a short little video explaining what that is, and a couple that I know of around me, and then also how you might find one on your own, because getting into uh, be able to look at the books in your hands and look through the entire curriculum and see the difference in them, compare side by side, and find things that you might not necessarily, is a really good way to pick out your curriculum, if you're able to do that. So this year, she is going with The Life of Fred, and this is Beginning Algebra Expanded Edition. So in essence, she's starting over for Algebra 1, but she's very driven, and she's already started, and I think she's already done 5 lessons in here in the 3 days we've had this book. So this one is more of a storyline kind of a thing, and so there's the lesson, and then it has examples, and it puts it kind of into real life application as you learn. And then there's the your turn to play, and there are questions, and they answer those, and then they go on. And the upper grades, I wouldn't do this for some of my kids. With her, I have no problem. There is a solutions on the next page so that they can self-grade. I went to teaching textbooks originally because I had 3 kids in 3 different math levels. And if you want to talk brain fatigue by the end of the day, let alone the end of the day, by the time lunchtime came, bouncing around with all those different maths and grading them, it just wasn't working. I didn't have the brain power to bounce back and forth. Math is not my forte. I can do it. I went through calculus and trig myself, but it's something I really have to work at. More of the language and English. So we have a nice balance in our house. So this has then, where is it? Let's see, what they call cities. And there are 3 of these cities per section. And so she'll go through, and they're supposed to do a city a day, instead of doing like all the cities in one day. So that will slow her down a little bit, but I don't think she's going to have any problem mastering this. It seems to be like her approach to things. So hopefully that will work out really well for her. And that's what she's doing for math. For language, language, English, whatever you want to label it, on her own. On her own, when we were at the school store, she decided she wanted to pick up vocabulary. So we looked through all the vocabulary curriculum that they had there, vocabulary books. She's used Wordly Wise in the past, and she did consider that, but we went with this Classical Roots, and they, let's see, let me see if I can find this. There's the teacher's thing. She's got that in there, so I don't want to lose her place. Okay, so it goes over, like this one, lesson 1's about numbers, and it's the Latin roots. Latin and Greek roots of our language. And it helps, having an understanding of this helps them better decipher the meaning of some words. It helps when they're reading, it helps in conversation, things like that. So it goes through and it's got, this one has 7. I don't know. Nope, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so there are 12, and it's mono is the first, and then Eunice, Unus is that one, and then duo or duplex. So they do the numbers. These are all number based, and by there on the back there, so you can see. So, and it gives examples and it gives the words, and then there's exercises in usage and deciphering. So it's a the second one is like 10 and 100, like centium and that, and it just kind of gives a expansion to their language, which helps in writing. And for writing this year, we're doing Power in Your Hands, for Sharon Watson. This one, I think this is a really great book. I have done the Jump In, which is the younger version for elementary, middle school. I did it 1 year with my oldest son, and then she did it for 2 years after him. But there's workbooks and stuff. But this one, I really like how this is laid out. And I have gone through, and there's a teacher one, obviously. So this one has all of the topics in that, and it works through systematically. But what I like about it, and this might come with being homeschooling for so long and being comfortable with this, is I'm picking and choosing what topics and what assignments that she's going to have. She's not going to sit down and just start working through this book. There's no sense in that, because she may have already covered a lot of that in previous and mastered to my liking that type of writing. So we're using this for certain ones, and I may pick it up in the next year or 2 again and assign different ones with different topics. Who knows? But this is a really good guide, and it explains in there, like chapter 5, persuasion, logical. So it goes through all of the persuasions, and it explains, and there are sample writings in there. Okay. And the sidebar kind of gives them, like, this is conclusion with thesis statements. So it tells them, oops, sorry. Like, they read this and then they say, okay, this is what that is. So they can kind of mimic it or mirror it. So, and then there's questions. Do you agree with this writer? Explain. What is the tone of this essay? So they learn all kinds of stuff with this one, and I really like the versatility, I guess. So she'll be doing that. We have done for grammar, I want to say 4 or 5 years of the Fix It grammar by IEW. This is the teacher manual. Now, I don't know, because I haven't ordered it in a while. I do know that if you order the teacher manual, this one is 4th, level 4. I actually started my oldest son out in level 1 when we changed over, because I wanted to see how far he could get, and made sure he had like a refresher. Level 1 starts out with the basics of what is a noun, what is a verb, adjectives, adverbs. But again, this is the teacher's manual, and my oldest went through level 4, and I have talked to IEW regarding the levels. Levels 5 and 6 are more towards like the college level. So if they get through level 4, they're doing great. I didn't like a lot of the other language or English curriculums because it seemed to drill a lot of unnecessary um, exercises that could be better spent doing other things like writing. But to give you an example of this one, so like week 2, this one says review clauses. Let's move into the book a little bit more. So, okay, well, that didn't work out. That's reviews again too. Um, so, okay, so this is level 4. Remember this. So this is like upper high school. So this is past perfect tense. So if you start this out in the elementary years, go slow. It's fine. If you start that out, like when we started my son out in book 1, I think it was his freshman year, we actually had him double up and do book 1 and 2 in the same year to kind of catch up and be more at his level. But I wanted him to have that refresher. So week 10 is perfect past time. Okay, so it explains a little bit here, and you go over that with them, or they have it in their book. So this is week 10. Let me see if I can find that real quick here. Okay. So, okay. So this is, I printed this out. So what I was going to tell you at first, let me back it up a little bit here. When you purchase in the past, you might have to check because I think it's the same way still. When you purchase the teacher's manual for the Fix-Its at IEW, if you purchase it from IEW, you get this sheet in the front. And it is a download sheet that you can download and print the student workbook and a few other helpful things for the parents. And we've done a few things with IEW. So I actually really like how they have laid things out. This is short, sweet, to the point. So this is a printout of the book 4, and the stories are they're childish, but that's the point. You're dissecting and going over it. So perfect past tense, verb tenses. This is what their sheet looks like. And then their week looks like this. They do 1 sentence a week, or a day. I'm sorry, 1 sentence a day. And then they're supposed to take day 4, because you do this a day each day, and then you go over it with them. If they have something incorrect, I would mark down what they're missing up here, like 1S, 1V, 2 prep, whatever it asked of them, and then they have to go and find it. So it's like investigative work, and they're, a lot of times they will, they'll get it. Sometimes they won't, and that's okay, because it's more of a learning thing, and it's a developmental challenges, and that these will help them become better writers, whether it's writing a speech, whether it's writing a book report, or a company report one day. You want to be able to be well written and well read if that is where you are going in life, because it will help you that much more when you get there. So basically they go through all this, and then they're supposed to every day write the vocab word, which is in bold there. So they write that vocab word in a journal. I would take a composition notebook and take like the last 20 pages and mark it, and that would be their vocab section, because in the front they would start rewriting the story and going through rewriting it with all the correct punctuation, the correct wording, everything that they needed, and that helped with their handwriting. And that is part of the Fix-It curriculum, is the writing and practice of your penmanship. And that helped the boys a little bit. It was challenging with my ADHD child, but we got through it. So this is what one day for a parent's teacher's guide looks like. You have all of the corrections and stuff here. And then you have this explanation to help you get through the fixes, as they say, because you're taking a story and you are fixing the grammar and that they have written it for. So they're retelling this year's The Little Mermaid. And my daughter will probably go on to book 5, maybe book 6. We'll see where we get there for. So for her science, again, we're back to master books. And again, more reading. But she picked this out, and I actually kind of love it. It's a survey of science, history, and concepts by Master Books, and it's 4 books on biology, mathematics, physics, and chemistry. And so she'll be going through the history of these. Each book, let me see if I can find a math book. So there's reading, of course. Let me pick some. Okay, so she's already on chapter 3 of the first book. So this is the mathematic book. And so you've got your reading, okay? And there's about 5, maybe 6 pages, maybe. They have these little extra fact, topics there. And it talks about, like this one's measuring cubic in the Bible. So it kind of brings mathematics into science and brings the Bible in there so you can understand when that will help her when she goes and reads about the altars and how they built per God's instructions in the Bible. She'll be able to understand the size of their temple and altars. So that kind of helps in there. There's some Mark Twain involvement. And then there's some questions. So these can be either consumable or non-consumable. I told her, she's the last kid, these are not very much. These are like $9 a piece. So I was not really concerned. So she's actually planning on keeping these. She has highlighted her important facts, and she just enjoys doing that. It helps her study. It helps her read, highlighting, underlining, and things like that. So, excuse me. She's got those 4 books, and then the teacher's guide. Quite frankly, kind of having herself great at this point. She's probably the one kid that I have that I don't have to worry about like trying to sneak under the radar. But she's, again, with Master Books. Let me see if I can find. Okay, so we took out, we took out the schedule because she put it in her scheduler for, she kind of takes them all and puts them together if she can. So this has the same worksheet that's in the book. And it has all those in, and these are perforated to be removed. So the teacher manual, teacher guide is supposed to be consumable. And in the back are the quizzes and tests, okay? And then you've got your answers behind that. So she knows that she's got to take the tests out to take the test. So she takes the test out and then goes and takes the test and brings it when she's got it graded. This has, I love this. I don't even know if she's realized this. It's got the periodic table right there in the back of that book. So that helps out a lot. So that's it for her science. Now for her history and literature. And keep in mind, this child who has done Sunlight for the past 3 years. I found Sunlight early on in our homeschool career, but my older 2 boys they're just not readers. Nowhere near what she is. She's my kid, we both read a lot of books every year. So what I've done is I've come up with, I had started to collect the books for Sunlight, because that was our plan. But she told me she doesn't like, she feels a little restricted in that and doesn't always like the literature choices. And I said, that's fine. This comes with experience and, uh, confidence in homeschooling. We've done this for so long. So I picked up, early on, I picked up there's 10 books to Joy Hakim's A History of Us. Okay. These are by themselves, they're like lower high school, middle school readers. And like this, the first one starts out as The First Americans Prehistory 1600. Um, so this one's about Columbus. So these are just readers. There is no questions, no nothing to this that I have really found. This is more of a discussion type of a thing. I think at one point there might have been a workbook or something to go with it, but I don't think it's being produced anymore. Oh, excuse me. Life on a Farm. It's been late nights and early mornings. So this one ends at All the People, and it's since 1945. I don't know. Let me see if I can see when this one ends. You could also, I'm going to say 2016. Okay, I'm going to say 2016 because the chronology of events ends at 2016. But it kind of shows that it's been updated. It's not a 20, 30, 50-year-old history book. She keeps updating them every so often to include new events, new things that happen and need to be put in there. And you can always expand like we have. I'm going to show you the what I would consider supplemental books, and some of these she has chosen to add herself. So one of them is Mystery of History, Volume 4. She's going to go through the history of us books and correlate the year with what's in here. So we've done this before. I had to buy it again because I got rid of them all. We've done this for history before in the lower levels, but being a nice supplemental history is a good thing. And she's chosen that. We have a couple of other books that this one is the America Years chronology of the United States. You can see I got it at a sale. This one is one of my favorites. I got this years ago, and so every year it breaks down. It's got international and national, okay, news and highlights, and then it goes into business, transportation, science and medicine, religion, art, music, literature, journalism, entertainment, sports, and miscellaneous. So you get a broad spectrum of what happened and what was important that year as a snapshot. So if you find, I'm pretty sure she'll find some topics in here, that things that have happened that we don't have covered in our books. She might be wanting to add some of that to hers. And that's okay. And she knows if she's got time, it works. This one is The Story of America. And again, I got this secondhand. So some of these you're just not going to be able to find, or it's going to be very difficult. But if you find some of these supplemental books, these reference books, it might be worth, even if you have younger kids, it might be worth picking them up because later in the years they'll come back to help. This one, The Crucial Year, 1775. And it's, let me see if I can hold this up. you see it just has some general, like the Restraining Act, Edmund Burke speaks up for colonists, the Battle of Lexington and Concord, the little excerpts, little snapshots. And it's different from the America years, so she'll get a little bit more variety out of that. This one is because she loves reading, and this is, I think, from a middle school. I'm not sure. Quite frankly, I don't know. This one is The American Story. I'm not even sure where I got this, but I've had it for years. It's 100 True Tales from American History. And they're literally like 3 pages long a lot of times. 1743, The Claims of France. So you can see they're just little, like, there's not a whole lot there. There's 2 more pages of the same story. Let's see. And then the next one. So this one's like 4 half pages long. It's not very long. Then for supporting for history, we've picked out the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, an American slave. Okay, and some of these are going to be, a lot of these are going to be more on her reading level. The life of George Washington, the American Civil War by Sir Winston Churchill, and George Washington, The Crossing. Again, they're not very big books, but you'll see why I didn't do a whole lot for that, because let me see if I can move this over and I'll share with you. This is part of her stack for literature. So I'm going to go through some of these for you, and hopefully it won't take too long. She's already started reading Into No Man's Land. Let me fix you up here. This is obviously below her reading level, but the context and the content is there. So I'm not worried, because she reads like 3 books at a time and runs through them like crazy. So I'm not really worried. She's picked a couple. Let's see. I'm trying to find the best way to do this. So we have some Edgar Allan Poe. This is a unabridged version, but there are some short stories and poems in here that I've assigned. I obviously have not assigned this entire book. If she ends up reading it, more power to her, because she reads like her mom. This is a great feat. Let me see if I can. Okay, and then I picked up these, and I knew at the time I picked them up about 4 years ago that she would probably be the one to read them. I picked them up for her at a yard sale. And it's the Women of the American Revolution. There are 3 volumes. This first one is volume 1 and 2, and this is volume 3. And it's the stories of the women of the American Revolution, the wives and that. So I thought that would be a neat perspective and a different take on it. And I thought she'd really enjoy that. And she's really excited this year, you guys. This is crazy. Let's see. For literature, like straight up reading, we've got some classics. Okay, so this is another Edgar Allan Poe. So these are kind of redundant. I think that hers is larger than the one I had up here. So this one may or may not have everything that the other one did. But we've got The Scarlet Letter, Of Mice and Men, The Red Badge of Courage, and To Kill a Mockingbird, Catcher in the Rye. We've got She Asked for Some Mark Twain, so we're doing Tom Sawyer, The Grapes of Wrath, and Fahrenheit 451. In addition to that, we have 2 more books. One of them, and I told her because I've never read this one, if she doesn't get through this one, I told her that's okay. I might try to read some of this before she does, just to get a handle on it. But it is Howard Harriet Beecher Stowe, Uncle Tom's Cabin, and it's about a slave, and I think it's from his perspective. Um, first years. Okay, that doesn't tell me anything. Okay, so I think it's from his perspective, or just basically his life, um, and his struggles through um, probably the slave times, slavery, and becoming a free man, and striking out on his own. I told her if she couldn't get through it, that not to worry because it's like 700 pages. When I put it on the list, I was thinking it was going to be like, 200-300. No, it is 695 pages. So we'll see, and I'll have to update you guys if she gets through it. This is short stories that she is going to be reading, at least 2 of these Jack London books, Call the Wild White Fang, and there's 40 other short stories in here, so we'll see what is picked out. We also have, she picked this because she saw it on my shelf, is Iacocca, an autobiography. So how could you say no? American History Year, and she wants to read about an American businessman and his successes and the way he lived his life. I can't say no. Then we are bringing in some poetry. We've got some, this is The Great Gatsby. This is an older version of it. But she's got that for part of her literature. And then I've got 101 famous poems that I've picked some out of. And this, they're just, I love this book. I love that it has like the title, the author, and the years that they lived. So we've picked some poetry out. I also have some documents. Oh, there we go. Some essays. Of course, she's going to study the I Have a Dream, the Gettysburg Address. We'll look at the Declaration of Independence, and Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death. Those are what I have scheduled for her so far. And we'll see how far we get. She will probably get through this by, I'm going to say, last year she did pretty well, and she did 90% of it by December, because she has her 4-H that she plans to work on to get through for all her projects for the next year. For my 12th grader, he is a whole different ball game. So hold on one second. Okay, so for my senior, by this point they have a lot, if not most, of what they need to graduate and to launch themselves into the world of secondary or next level education or their jobs. So the senior year is usually a lot lighter. And as you can see, we discuss with them what they want to do, probably from middle school on, as far as curriculum, because they do have an idea of what will work for them, and why sit with a curriculum and fight with a curriculum that isn't going to work. There's really no point, because you end up frustrated, they end up frustrated, and you don't want to make them hate the subjects or dislike learning. So you just, as homeschooler, adapt, breathe and adapt, and make the curriculum work for you. Don't work for the curriculum, because it's supposed to be your way. Okay. So for my senior, he's doing as I said before, the Bible, the world religions and cults study. He is doing at the high school, he's doing a JAG class, which is jobs for American graduates, something like that. But they work on career building things and projects that will help them. They work on volunteering and like one of the projects last year was to talk to someone in the field that you want to be in and interview them and then do a slideshow presentation. So they get, a lot of like applicable projects that they can do, and they do volunteer work in that to kind of give them that perspective of life. So that I really like that part of it. Last year he started writing a novel. We started out with The Power in Your Hands, and it wasn't working for him because it just wasn't where he was wanting to go. He talked to me and said he wanted to write a novel. And I said, do you have a plan? Do you have an idea? Do you have a plan? And he said he, kind of had an idea where he wanted to go and, the characters and stuff. And I said, okay, go ahead. And it's on Google Docs and we share it back and forth. He writes, I proofread, and I edit and send him suggestions. And he either accepts them or doesn't. But he is going to be continuing that this year. And I'm hoping that we can get to the end-ish part of that novel so it can help him maybe self-publish or launch it himself in some way or find a publisher. So we'll have to see what that brings. But we are going to be working on entrepreneurship. That's the other one. We will be looking on Udemy and study.com, I think it is, for lectures and class segments, things like that he can watch and work through, because he eventually wants to launch his own video editing, self-employed, kind of a business on his own. And part of doing that, and something I require all of my kids to go through, is a personal finance course that I have designed. So if you want to do Dave Ramsey's, I think that Paradigm has one. We do their econ, and I can't think of the name of it. It's Principles of something. But we use their econ. I think they have a personal finance or a finance type course. I thought about putting him in accounting, but I think that the entrepreneurship is more important because I can help him with the accounting later. I may not be super strong in the upper level math, but I am really good at taxes and accounting. So they know they can always come back and ask mom or dad anything for help or anything like that. But part of, I'll go over some of the personal finance that he will be doing. And I did this with my oldest, and I just wrote it out. I wrote out an outline and we just worked through. So you'll see, I even have vocab that I want them to understand. And it goes back for the history of money, the 5 characteristics, the 3 functions of money, okay? And then we go on to personal. I have part of this that they need to find a job, that they would want to do. Find it. How much does it pay? How, where are you going to live? How much is your rent? How much is your mortgage? How much are your bills? You need to find out. We've even called the utility company in an area with my older son and asked for an average bill amount for, say, this area, a 1-bedroom apartment in this area, and they were able to give us a number, and then I send them out either on an app or to go to the grocery store. They menu plan for 2 weeks for their breakfast, lunch, and dinners, snacks, anything like that, then they need to come back and say, okay, this fit in my grocery budget or it did not. And then they, my oldest has a cat, and I said, well, you need to provide for him. So you need to factor in cat litter and vet costs and food and all the things. So it's very, you know, comprehensive. I cover the different costs of cars, of mortgages, of different loans, how banks work, with different accounts, different investment accounts, savings accounts, how credit works, and like all of that. It includes like job interview tips and uh, things like that. So it I worked a long time to get this put together in time for my oldest son's senior year. So it's pretty comprehensive because I've also fine-tuned it throughout working with him on it. So it has some additions in there. So this has gotten to be pretty long, but it covers everything that we are doing with 23-24 school year. Wow, can't believe that. So if you have questions, or if you're interested in more of this content, hit the like and subscribe below. And if you have questions, go ahead and comment. I will do my best to answer the questions, and I might make it into another video to help explain better. So I will see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.